Kayla had been dreaming of her high school dance for months, her perfect dress picked out, her natural curls styled just right. But the day before the big night, a crushing message arrived from the school. Her hairstyle didn't meet the dress code. Now, with her dream shattered, Kayla faces a choice: stay silent or take a stand. Before we get started, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let us know where you're watching from. Let's dive in. Kayla Johnson couldn't stop smiling as she twirled in front of the mirror. The shimmering blue dress she had picked out weeks ago flowed elegantly around her as she spun, catching the light just right. It was perfect. She had found it after countless hours of shopping with her mom, and they both knew from the moment she tried it on that this was the one. The dress made her feel like a princess, like she was stepping into a fairy tale for one magical night. But it wasn't just about the dress. Kayla felt beautiful, powerful even, especially because she was wearing her natural curls with pride. It had taken a long time for her to fully embrace her hair the way it naturally grew. For years, she'd been told by magazines, media, and even some people at school that straight, sleek hair was the right way to look polished or beautiful. But over time, Kayla had learned to love her curls, the way they framed her face, their bounce, and the way they made her feel uniquely herself. Tonight, she was going to show up as her true self, and she couldn't wait. The annual school dance was one of the most anticipated events of the year, and for weeks she and her friends had been buzzing with excitement, planning every last detail. For Kayla, it wasn't just about the dance itself, it was about the memories they were going to make together. She had never been more excited for anything in her life. "Are you ready?" Her mom called from downstairs, her voice full of warmth and pride. "Almost," Kayla replied, grabbing her phone to snap a quick selfie. She smiled into the camera, her curls shining, and sent the photo to her best friend, Maya, with a quick text. "I think we're gonna win best dressed." But just as Kayla was about to head downstairs, her phone buzzed again. It wasn't Maya. Instead, it was an email from the school's administration. At first, she almost didn't bother opening it. There was no way they'd be sending out anything important the day before the dance. But something about the subject line made her pause. Dance dress code reminder. She frowned and clicked on the message, her eyes scanning over the words quickly. "Please be reminded that the school dance requires all attendees to adhere to our formal dress code," it began. "This includes appropriate attire, grooming, and hairstyles in line with school policy. Unconventional hairstyles that do not reflect the formal nature of the event will not be permitted." Kayla's heart sank. She knew exactly what they meant by unconventional hairstyles. She'd heard those words before, whispered under breath by classmates, murmured by teachers, and written into the school's policy in vague, coded language that never outright said what it meant, but everyone knew. They were talking about her curls. Trying not to panic, she opened the school handbook on her phone, searching for any mention of hair policies. Sure enough, buried under a long list of dress code rules, she found it. Students are expected to maintain hairstyles that are in keeping with a formal and professional environment. Unconventional or distracting hairstyles are not allowed for formal events. Her fingers hovered over her phone, rereading the words again and again. Her excitement was quickly being replaced by confusion, frustration, and hurt. How could her natural hair, something that was a part of her identity, something she had learned to be proud of, be considered unconventional or distracting? What was wrong with showing up as herself? Kayla's heart raced as she scrolled through the rest of the email. It wasn't just a reminder, it was a direct warning. The email ended with a note specifically addressed to her. "Please ensure your hairstyle is in compliance with our dress code, or you will not be permitted entry." She felt a pit form in her stomach. They were singling her out. There was no mistaking it now. Her natural hair wasn't seen as acceptable for the school dance. It wasn't neat enough. It wasn't formal enough. It wasn't good enough. Fighting back tears, she ran a hand through her curls, feeling the texture she had grown to love over the years. She had worked so hard to embrace her natural beauty. But now, in the face of this email, all those insecurities she thought she had buried were bubbling back to the surface. How could something that felt so authentically her, something that was part of her heritage and culture, be seen as unacceptable. Her phone buzzed again. This time, it was Maya. "Are you still coming over for hair and makeup?" the message read, followed by a series of excited emojis. Kayla didn't know how to respond. Should she tell Maya what had happened? Should she stay home and avoid the embarrassment altogether? Her friends had been so excited for this night. She didn't want to ruin it for them. But she also couldn't imagine showing up and being turned away at the door. The thought of standing there in her beautiful dress, only to be told that she wasn't allowed in because of her hair, made her heart ache. Taking a deep breath, she walked downstairs to find her mom. Maybe she was overreacting. Maybe there was something they could do to fix this. Or maybe she just needed some reassurance. But as soon as she explained the situation, she could see the anger and disappointment flash across her mother's face. "This is ridiculous," her mom said firmly, pulling out her phone to call the school. "They can't stop you from going because of your hair." But Kayla wasn't so sure. As her mom dialed the number, she sat down on the couch, staring blankly at her reflection in the mirror. The excitement she'd felt just minutes ago had evaporated, replaced by a gnawing feeling of doubt and sadness. What was supposed to be the best night of her high school life had suddenly turned into a nightmare. Kayla sat on the couch, her heart pounding, as she listened to her mom's voice rise on the phone. Every word felt heavy, like the weight of the conversation was pushing down on her chest. Her mom was speaking with the school's administration, but it didn't sound like the conversation was going well. "Can you explain what exactly about my daughter's hair is inappropriate?" Kayla heard her mother demand. "You have no right to tell her how to wear her hair, especially when it's her natural texture. This is discrimination, plain and simple." Kayla stared down at her hands, her phone sitting idle on her lap. The weight of what was happening felt too big to process. It was just hair. How could something so personal, so natural, suddenly become the reason she might not be allowed to attend the dance? It felt surreal, like she was watching this unfold from a distance. Her mom ended the call with a frustrated sigh and sat down next to her, rubbing her forehead as though she could physically push away the stress. "They're sticking to the dress code," she said, shaking her head in disbelief. "They keep saying it's about maintaining a formal atmosphere." "Formal," she repeated, her voice laced with bitterness. Kayla felt her eyes sting as tears threatened to spill over. "What am I supposed to do, Mom? They're saying I can't go like this. I don't want to miss the dance, but I don't want to change my hair either." Her mom wrapped an arm around her, pulling her into a comforting hug. "You shouldn't have to change anything about yourself, Kayla. This isn't fair, and it's not right. We're going to fight this." But Kayla wasn't so sure. Fighting felt like such a big thing, and all she wanted was to go to the dance and have fun with her friends. It felt unfair that something so innocent had turned into this huge, complicated issue. That night, as she lay in bed staring at the ceiling, Kayla couldn't sleep. She kept replaying the day in her mind, the excitement, the joy of finding the perfect dress, and then the crushing email that took all of that away. Her fingers absently combed through her curls, a habit she had whenever she was thinking or nervous. How had it come to this? The next morning, feeling no better, Kayla did something she never thought she would do. She decided to share her story online. She didn't expect much from it, but she needed to get it off her chest. Opening her phone, she typed out a post on her social media, her fingers trembling as she wrote, "I was so excited for my school dance. I picked out the perfect dress, got my hair ready, and was counting down the days. But yesterday, the school told me I can't attend because of my hair. My natural hair, the curls I was born with. They said it doesn't fit the formal dress code. I'm hurt, confused, and so disappointed that my school thinks I have to change who I am to fit their standards. I just wanted to be myself." After hesitating for a moment, she hit post and set her phone aside, not really expecting much to happen. The response was almost immediate. At first, it was just her friends and family offering words of support, but soon, people she didn't even know began commenting, sharing, and reposting her story. People started using hashtags like "Let Kayla Dance" and "Natural Hair is Beautiful," voicing their anger and frustration on her behalf. The conversation had begun, and it wasn't going to stay small. Kayla watched as the post spread faster than she could have imagined. Hundreds of comments began pouring in, with people expressing their outrage that a school would discriminate against a student over something as personal and natural as hair. Many of the commenters shared their own stories of being judged for their appearance, especially those with natural black hair. It was clear that what Kayla was experiencing was not an isolated incident. It was part of a larger issue that had affected many people before her. Before long, her post had gone viral. News outlets began reaching out to her for interviews, and activists from around the country shared her story, turning it into a national conversation. Kayla was overwhelmed. The situation had snowballed into something far bigger than she had ever anticipated. It wasn't just social media that took notice. Local news stations picked up the story, and soon it was being broadcast across the city. Kayla's face appeared on television screens, and her story was being told to people she didn't even know. While it was empowering to see so many people standing with her, it was also terrifying. She had gone from a regular high school student to the center of a national controversy almost overnight. Her phone buzzed constantly with notifications, some from strangers offering support, others from reporters asking for comments. It was overwhelming. Kayla couldn't escape the feeling that her life was spiraling out of her control, and all because she had dared to wear her hair the way it naturally grew. At school, things were tense. The administration had clearly heard about the backlash, but instead of addressing it head-on, they doubled down on their decision, issuing a statement to local media defending their dress code policy. "We maintain high standards for our formal events to ensure they reflect the values of professionalism and discipline," the statement read. "Our dress code, which includes grooming standards, is designed to promote a respectful and elegant atmosphere." The words felt cold and dismissive to Kayla. It wasn't just about a dance anymore. It was about the message they were sending. That her natural hair, something she had worked so hard to embrace and love, wasn't professional or elegant enough. The sting of that realization was deep and painful. But for every hurtful comment or dismissive statement, there were dozens of messages of love and support. People from all walks of life were standing with Kayla, telling her that she was beautiful just the way she was, and that she shouldn't have to change to fit anyone else's standards. One message in particular stood out to her. It was from a woman Kayla had always admired, an incredibly famous black celebrity who had been vocal about embracing her natural beauty. The woman sent Kayla a direct message on social media, and when Kayla opened it, she nearly dropped her phone. "I see you, Kayla," the message began. "And I've been where you are. Don't give up, because you're fighting for something so much bigger than just a dance. I want to help." Kayla stared at her screen, hardly believing what she was reading. The story wasn't over yet. It was just beginning. Kayla sat frozen, staring at her phone screen in disbelief. Was this real? Had one of her biggest inspirations just reached out to her directly? She reread the message over and over again to make sure she wasn't imagining things. "I want to help." The message was from Simone Matthews, an internationally recognized actress, singer, and activist who is known for championing causes related to self-love, diversity, and especially natural black beauty. Simone had openly shared her own struggles with discrimination growing up, particularly around her natural hair, and had become a powerful advocate for young black girls learning to embrace their true selves. Kayla had admired her for years, watching her rise to fame while staying true to her roots, both literally and figuratively. Now, this same woman was reaching out to help Kayla in her own moment of need. It felt surreal. Without hesitating, Kayla typed back, her hands trembling with excitement. "I can't believe this is happening. Thank you so much for reaching out. I'm really overwhelmed with everything that's been happening." Almost instantly, Simone responded, "I understand. I've been there before. It's unfair, and it hurts, but we can turn this into something powerful. I'm serious about helping. Let's talk." Kayla's heart raced as she read the words. She quickly messaged her mom to let her know what was happening, and within minutes, she and Simone were on a video call. Seeing the famous actress's face pop up on her screen was something Kayla would never forget. Even through the tiny camera, Simone exuded a warmth and authenticity that immediately put her at ease. "Kayla, first of all, I want to tell you that I am so proud of you," Simone began, her voice gentle but full of passion. "What you're going through is hard, but you've handled it with so much grace. I see you standing up for yourself, and that's something a lot of people don't have the courage to do. You've sparked something really important here." Kayla blushed, feeling both flattered and a little overwhelmed. "Thank you," she said softly. "I didn't expect any of this to happen. I just wanted to go to my dance, you know? I didn't think it would turn into such a big deal." "I know," Simone nodded, her expression thoughtful. "And that's why it's so important. This is about more than just a dance now. This is about how people view natural hair, our hair, and how we're constantly told it doesn't fit into these so-called professional or formal standards. But the truth is, there's nothing more professional, more elegant, or more beautiful than being yourself." Kayla felt a lump in her throat as she listened. Simone's words resonated with her deeply. "So, what do we do now?" Kayla asked, the weight of the situation suddenly pressing down on her again. "I feel like the school's never going to change its mind. They're not listening to me." Simone leaned in, her expression turning serious but still warm. "We don't wait for them to change. We take matters into our own hands. If they won't let you go to the dance, then we'll create something even bigger, something they can't ignore." Kayla blinked in confusion. "What do you mean?" Simone smiled, and there was a spark of determination in her eyes. "We're going to throw an alternative event, a celebration of natural beauty. You, me, and anyone else who wants to come. We'll turn this into a night to remember, and not just for you, but for everyone who's ever been told they need to change themselves to fit in." Kayla's breath caught. The idea seemed impossible, like something out of a dream. An alternative event? Like another dance? "Exactly," Simone said with a grin. "But this one won't have any dress codes that tell people their natural hair isn't formal enough. It'll be the exact opposite. A celebration of being yourself. I've got the resources, and I've got the connections. If you're up for it, we'll make it happen." Kayla's mind raced. Could they really do this? Throw an entirely separate event just to stand against the school's policy? She thought about the message it would send, not just to her school, but to other people who had gone through the same thing. The support she had received online had shown her just how many others had faced similar discrimination because of their appearance, especially because of their hair. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about everyone who had ever been made to feel less than for embracing their natural selves. "I'm in," Kayla said, her voice steady with newfound determination. Simone's smile widened. "Good, now let's get to work." Over the next few days, things moved faster than Kayla could have ever anticipated. Simone kept her promise, and with her star power behind the event, everything fell into place quickly. They found a beautiful venue downtown that had offered to host the event for free after hearing Kayla's story. Local businesses donated decorations, food, and even free services like hairstyling and makeup, though this time it was all about embracing natural beauty. The event quickly gained momentum on social media. Simone posted about it to her millions of followers, calling it the Freedom Dance, a night where everyone could show up exactly as they were, without fear of judgment or exclusion. The hashtag Freedom Dance exploded, and soon celebrities, activists, and influencers from all over the country were sharing their excitement about the event. It was clear that this wasn't just going to be a small gathering, it was turning into a movement. Kayla's role in all of this felt almost surreal. She was at the center of something much bigger than she had ever imagined. People were now looking to her as a symbol of resistance against unfair beauty standards. She did interviews with major news outlets, appeared on podcasts, and even filmed a short video with Simone where they talked about their shared experiences and why this movement mattered so much. As the days passed, Kayla began to feel a sense of pride and purpose that she had never felt before. The fear and doubt she had initially experienced were being replaced with a determination to make a difference. She wasn't just doing this for herself anymore. She was doing it for everyone who had ever been told they had to change to be accepted. The night of the Freedom Dance arrived quickly. Kayla stood in front of the mirror, wearing her beautiful blue dress, her curls even more radiant than they had been before. This time, there was no fear in her heart, no second-guessing about whether her hair was formal enough. She knew deep down that her curls were perfect because they were hers. Her phone buzzed with a message from Maya, who was already at the venue. "It's packed here, Kayla. Everyone's waiting for you. This is going to be amazing." Kayla smiled and took a deep breath. She wasn't nervous anymore. She was ready. Ready to step into the spotlight. Not just as a girl who wanted to go to a dance, but as someone who had learned the true power of embracing who she was and standing up for it. As she and her mom left the house and drove to the venue, Kayla's mind was filled with excitement. This night was about more than just dancing. It was about celebrating herself and everyone else who had fought to be seen and accepted for who they truly were. And tonight, nothing could stop her from shining. The air was electric as Kayla arrived at the venue for the Freedom Dance. The tall, glittering building loomed before her, and she could already hear the distant pulse of music and the lively chatter of people gathering inside. A red carpet had been rolled out at the entrance, lined with flashing cameras from reporters who had come to cover the event. What had started as a simple act of defiance had grown into a full-blown movement, and Kayla could hardly believe that she was at the center of it all. As she stepped out of the car, the cool evening air hit her, calming the small flutter of nerves that had crept in on the ride over. Her mom, who had been her biggest supporter throughout the entire ordeal, squeezed her hand. "You've got this, Kayla. Remember, this is your night." Kayla nodded, giving her mom a grateful smile. "I know. I'm ready." As they approached the entrance, cheers erupted from the crowd that had gathered outside. People held signs of support, some with phrases like "natural hair," "natural beauty," and "let Kayla dance." Others simply held out their phones, capturing the moment as she walked into the venue. Kayla waved, her heart swelling with gratitude. These people had come to stand with her, to celebrate not just her but everything the Freedom Dance stood for. She wasn't alone anymore. When she entered the building, she was momentarily stunned. The venue was breathtaking, far beyond anything she could have imagined. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting a soft glow over the spacious ballroom, which was decked out in elegant decorations. The dance floor was packed with people, all of whom were laughing, dancing, and chatting. And the best part? Every single person was embracing their natural selves, from curly afros and locks to braids and twists. There were no dress code restrictions, no judgment, and no limitations, just pure celebration. As she made her way through the crowd, she caught sight of Maya, who rushed over to her with a huge grin. "Kayla, this is incredible. Can you believe this? Look at how many people came out tonight." Kayla laughed, her earlier nerves melting away. "I know, it's amazing. I never expected this." She took in the scene, her heart brimming with pride. What had started as a painful experience had blossomed into something beautiful, something powerful. She wasn't just at a dance. She was part of a movement, and that realization made the night feel even more special. Soon, Simone Matthews appeared by her side, dressed in a stunning gown, her natural curls on full display. The famous actress had been instrumental in making this event happen, and Kayla felt a rush of gratitude as they embraced. "You made this happen, Kayla," Simone said, smiling down at her. "This is all because of you." Kayla shook her head. "No, we made this happen. You believed in me when I didn't think I could do it." Simone chuckled softly. "That's what this is all about, isn't it? Believing in yourself. That's what makes movements like this so powerful." They stood together, taking in the sight of the crowded ballroom. People were dancing, laughing, and celebrating, just as Kayla had always imagined they would at her school dance. But this was better, so much better, because no one here had been made to feel like they had to change who they were to fit in. As the night went on, the energy only grew stronger. Celebrities and influencers who had supported the event from afar began to arrive, each of them showing their solidarity with Kayla's cause. Some gave speeches, highlighting the importance of embracing natural beauty, while others simply joined in the fun, dancing and mingling with everyone in attendance. Kayla even had the chance to meet a few of her own idols, people she had looked up to for years, and they all told her how inspired they were by her courage. As the music pulsed through the ballroom, Kayla found herself lost in the joy of the moment. She danced with her friends, laughing and spinning in her beautiful blue dress, her curls bouncing with every move. She felt free, like she was finally allowed to be exactly who she was, without fear of judgment. And it wasn't just her. Everyone in the room seemed to feel that same sense of liberation. There was no pressure to conform, no one watching to see if anyone was formal enough. This was a space where everyone was accepted just as they were. But the most powerful moment of the night came when Simone took the stage to address the crowd. The room quieted as she raised her hand, and all eyes turned toward her. "I want to take a moment to recognize the person who made this night possible," Simone began, her voice ringing out across the ballroom. "This all started because one brave young woman refused to be told that her natural beauty wasn't good enough. She took a stand, not just for herself, but for everyone who's ever been made to feel like they had to change who they are to be accepted." She gestured toward Kayla, who suddenly felt everyone's eyes on her. A spotlight shone down, and Kayla's breath caught in her throat as she realized what was happening. "Kayla Johnson, you are an inspiration to all of us," Simone continued, her voice filled with emotion. "Your courage, your strength, and your refusal to back down in the face of injustice have sparked something bigger than a dance. You've sparked a movement for self-love, acceptance, and the celebration of natural beauty." The crowd erupted into applause, and Kayla felt her cheeks flush with warmth. Tears pricked at her eyes as she stood there, overwhelmed by the love and support surrounding her. She had never imagined that her fight to attend a simple school dance could turn into something like this. Simone smiled at her from the stage. "Kayla, come join me up here." With her heart pounding, Kayla made her way to the stage, the crowd parting to let her through. When she reached Simone, the actress enveloped her in a hug, and the room exploded into cheers once again. Kayla could hardly believe it. This was her moment, a moment she would never forget. As she stood on that stage, surrounded by people who supported and believed in her, Kayla realized something profound. Her story had become much bigger than just her. This wasn't just about one girl being banned from a school dance. It was about fighting for the right to be seen, to be accepted, and to be celebrated for who you are. It was about challenging the systems and standards that told people they had to change to fit in. The night continued with more speeches, more dancing, and more celebration. As the evening wore on, Kayla found herself standing off to the side of the ballroom, watching as people from all walks of life came together to embrace their true selves. She smiled to herself, knowing that this was only the beginning. The Freedom Dance wasn't just a one-night event. It was the start of something bigger, a movement that would continue to grow and inspire others to stand up for their own beauty, their own identity, and their own right to be free. And Kayla was proud to be at the heart of it all. The sun had barely risen the day after the Freedom Dance, but Kayla was already awake, scrolling through her phone, still trying to process the incredible night. Her notifications were flooded, thousands of messages of support, reposts, comments, and even more stories from people who had experienced similar struggles. It wasn't just about hair anymore. It was about identity, about standing up to systems that made people feel like they had to change who they were to be accepted. Kayla's phone vibrated with a new text message, and she smiled when she saw it was from Simone Matthews. "Last night was magical. I'm so proud of you. This is just the beginning. Get ready." Kayla typed back quickly, thanking Simone again for everything she had done. But deep down, she knew Simone was right. The Freedom Dance had been a beautiful moment, but it was only the start of something much larger. That afternoon, Kayla and her mom sat together in their small living room, watching as news anchors discussed the previous night's event. Footage of the dance played on the screen, Kayla laughing, dancing, and accepting praise from the crowd, her natural curls bouncing with every step. The story had reached every major news outlet, and people across the country were talking about the movement she had sparked. "You've really done something special, Kayla," her mom said, her voice filled with pride. "I know this started out rough, but look how far you've come." Kayla nodded, but there was still a flicker of disbelief inside her. Could she really have started a movement? Could her actions truly change anything? The answer came faster than she expected. Over the next few weeks, the Freedom Dance became a symbol of resistance, a call for self-acceptance that extended far beyond Kayla's town. Activists, students, and even politicians took up the cause, pushing for legislative changes. Schools in different states began re-evaluating their dress codes, specifically those that banned natural hairstyles. Students held peaceful protests, demanding the freedom to wear their hair in braids, afros, twists, and locks, without fear of punishment. Social media campaigns used hashtags like "natural is power" and "let them be" to rally support. Kayla's inbox was filled with requests for interviews from newspapers, magazines, and even TV shows. At first, the attention was overwhelming. She wasn't used to being in the spotlight like this, and part of her just wanted to go back to her normal life, to blend in again. But she knew that wasn't an option anymore, not if she truly believed in what she was fighting for. This was about more than just her school dance now. It was about something much bigger. One day, while sitting with her best friend Maya in their favorite cafe, Kayla's phone buzzed with a notification. It was from an advocacy group that had just introduced a new bill to protect students' rights to wear their natural hair in schools across the country. The bill, if passed, would make it illegal for schools to enforce discriminatory dress codes that targeted black students' natural hair. Kayla gasped as she read the details. "Maya, look at this," she exclaimed, turning the screen so Maya could see. "They're calling it the Kayla bill." Maya's eyes widened. "Kayla, that's huge. You're literally making history right now." Kayla's heart raced as she reread the message. It was surreal. A bill in her name. A law that could change things for generations of students to come. The weight of it hit her all at once, the magnitude of what she had helped create. Later that week, Kayla was invited to speak at a rally in front of the state capitol. Standing on the steps of the grand building, she looked out at the sea of faces before her. Some held signs with messages like, "Freedom to be," and "End hair discrimination now." Others simply stood in solidarity, ready to hear her speak. Among them were students who had experienced the same kind of discrimination she had, and their eyes were filled with hope. Kayla stepped up to the microphone, her nerves bubbling up, but she pushed them down. This was her chance to say something meaningful, something that could help push the movement forward. "When I was banned from my school dance because of my natural hair, I felt like I didn't belong," Kayla began, her voice strong but filled with emotion. "I felt like I wasn't good enough, that who I was wasn't acceptable. But the truth is, none of us should ever feel that way. We shouldn't have to change who we are to fit into someone else's idea of what's right. Our natural beauty, our identity, is something to be celebrated, not suppressed." The crowd cheered, and Kayla took a deep breath before continuing. "This isn't just about hair. It's about being seen. It's about making sure that every young person knows they have the right to show up as themselves, unapologetically. And that's why we're here today, to make sure no one else has to go through what I did, to make sure that our voices are heard." More cheers erupted, and Kayla felt a rush of pride. She was standing on the steps of a Capitol building, but it felt like she was standing at the edge of something even bigger, a movement that was just beginning to unfold. As the months went on, the movement only grew. Local governments began passing laws similar to the Kayla bill, and schools across the country adopted new, more inclusive dress codes. News outlets continued to cover the story, and activists from all over the world reached out to Kayla, wanting to join forces in the fight against hair discrimination. She found herself invited to speak at panels, conferences, and even international events, sharing her story and encouraging others to stand up for their rights. Despite the whirlwind of attention, Kayla never lost sight of what mattered most. She stayed connected to the people who had supported her from the beginning. Her family, her friends, and the countless students who had shared their stories with her. She used her platform to uplift their voices, reminding everyone that this wasn't just her fight. It was a fight for everyone who had ever been told they weren't good enough, for everyone who had ever felt the need to hide who they were. One evening, after a long day of interviews and meetings, Kayla sat in her room, reflecting on how much her life had changed. She thought back to that moment when she had received the message from her school, banning her from the dance. It felt like a lifetime ago. She had been heartbroken then, but now she saw that moment for what it really was, the spark that had ignited a movement. Kayla glanced at the framed photo on her dresser. It was from the Freedom Dance, her and Simone Matthews standing side by side, both smiling, both with their natural curls on full display. That night had been the beginning of something incredible, and as she looked at the photo, Kayla realized that she had found her purpose. This wasn't just about a dance anymore. It was about making sure that everyone, everywhere, felt the freedom to be themselves. And Kayla was determined to keep fighting until that vision became a reality. The movement had begun, and Kayla knew it would only grow stronger from here. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this story, don't miss the next one. Click on the video now to watch. We appreciate your support, and we'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments.